Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Irv Homer Show. It is Wednesday, September the 3rd, 2008, and we are on the East Coast. It's Eastern Daylight Saving Time, 6 o'clock here. And in about 4.5 hours, I suppose, we will hear from the Vice President designate of the Republican Party, Sarah Palin, and everyone is waiting with bated breath. I'm not. I know exactly what she's going to say. How wonderful she is, how wonderful she was, how wonderful she was, how wonderful she is, family values, and etc. and so forth. We are broadcasting from irvhomer.com, and this whole technological contraption here, which is unbelievably unique, has been put together by RGH Computer Services. They're available for all your computer needs, problems, building computers, servicing your computer, setting up websites, etc. and so forth. I can't go into the whole list of things that RGH Computer Services does. However, if you want to contact them, you may by calling 215-322-8685, 215-322-8685. As you know, I check out sponsors on the Irv Homer Show very carefully, make sure that there will never be any problems if you financially engage them to do any work whatsoever. So once again, it's RGH Computer Services at 215-322-8685. I think by now you've realized that the Democrat and the Republican convention is a joke. The candidates have already been selected prior to the convention, both Democrat and Republican. So all this is a big party to reaffirm something that's already been established. It's a show. It's a production. It's expensive as hell, and it doesn't mean a damn thing to you and me. Because if you have the Republican Party extolling the virtues of their candidate, the Democrat Party extolling the virtues of their candidate, what's the sense in watching it? The switchover will be very rare in this type of convention. There's a lot of discussion about the vice president selected by the Republican Party. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, you don't know who I'm going to vote for, and it's none of my business who you vote for. And that's one of the reasons you close the curtain when you get into the voting booth. I'm not here to influence you to vote Democrat. I'm not here to convince you to vote Republican, or that the Democrats are better than the Republicans, or the Republicans are better than the Democrats. You know, as I felt all the years as a libertarian supporter of libertarian philosophy and constitutional guarantees that the country was founded upon, including the changes that the Constitution gives you, there isn't a dime's worth of difference between the Democrats and the Republicans. They're just different wings of the same party. The platforms of the two of them are basically the same. None of them are addressing the real question of what they're going to do. And what I mean by that is, since having run for vice president in 1972, we know there's a problem in education. We know there's a problem in energy. We know there's a problem in pollution. We know there's a problem in crime. We know. I don't need some political candidate to tell me that. I know it. What are you going to do as a politician to eliminate the problems that you're going to speak about today, or tonight, or this afternoon, or when you campaign? The only party that has a platform of any merit whatsoever is the Libertarian Party, because their platform is a platform built on solid constitutional principles. Unfortunately, neither the Democrats or the Republicans believe in the Constitution of the United States. They believe in the power that comes with being the political party that has control in Washington, D.C., with its reaching hands across the aisle. The two-party system that we have in America is quite unique. When the Republicans are in power, in the White House, in the state, in your local jurisdictions, the other party tries like hell to make things bad and to destroy the party in power. And then when they lose and they get in, the other party tries its best to destroy that party's and to make them look bad. So over the years with this so-called allegedly two-party system, we have two parties trying to destroy each other, and who ends up being the victim of this? You and me. We ended up being the victim over the fact that these two parties try to destroy themselves. Once in a while they'll agree upon something and say, see, we reached across the aisle to solve a problem. Well, apparently they haven't been reaching across the aisle enough because we have many problems. This is a very difficult situation as far as the vice president-select of the Republican Party. The selection of the Democrats is one where they're taking a complete, total amateur that nobody ever heard of and elevated himself to be the presidential candidate of the Democrat Party. Who is this man? I don't know this guy. What's his track record? If I were the head of a corporation, he'd be the last person I would hire to be the executive director. And if I were the head of a corporation on the Republican side, Sarah Palin would be the last person I would hire to be my chief executive. Why do I say that about Barack Obama? He's a rock star. Public relations companies got a hold of this guy and said, we can make him a star. The same public relations people that sold you hula hoops, pet rocks, are the same people that are hired to sell you political candidates. And they sold you a pretty good job at raising millions of dollars to sell you a candidate that you have no idea what he's going to do or what he's capable of or what he knows. And they're doing the same thing with Sarah Palin. Now I go to the example of my dear mother, who when Princess Grace married Prince Rainier, and mother said to me, she married a prince of Monaco. And I said, Mom, let's put things in perspective. The whole country of Monaco can fit in Fairmount Park. That's right. The whole country of Monaco can fit in Fairmount Park. I think Fairmount Park has about 375 square miles. Monaco can fit in there. And my mother said, well, why do you always destroy things for me? I said, I'm sorry, Mom. If the truth bothers you, it's the truth. I checked out my particular ward where I live in Bucks County. Now, Sarah Palin was the mayor of the town Wissinga that she was the mayor of. My ward leader in Bucks County represents more people than she was the mayor of. And who lives in Alaska? What kind of people live in Alaska? P. Diddy was criticized by know-it-all O'Reilly because P. Diddy said, truthfully so, how many blacks live in Alaska? What does she know? And how many blacks lived in Omaha when she lived there? She was 3 months old when she left. And yet O'Reilly thought that was funny. He called him a pinhead. Well, O'Reilly, you're a fool. You may be the most popular guy on cable television, but you're a fool because the minority population in Alaska is very small. And why would an African American in America or a Hispanic in America want her as the vice president, a heartbeat away from the president? So I ask you, when you watch and listen to these folks on television or listen to them on radio, that you do it with more scrutiny than you're doing. Because these are serious times and they require serious thought. I want to know everything there is to know about Barack Obama. I want to know about the association he had with the terrorist groups. I want to know about the association he had with Reverend Wright. I want to know everything about him. I want to know how he breathes, he lives, his DNA, his relationship with his family, his relationship with his children. I want to know everything. I want to know everything about Joe Biden. And because of the close proximity to the state of Delaware and the fact that I was a non-resident taxpayer of Delaware for some 24 years, I know a lot about Joe Biden. But I don't know much about, and I know the family of Joe Biden. I know the tragedy that he had when he was first married with the automobile accident that killed his wife and 2 children. So I want to know everything about the people that I pay their salary. They're not my kings, they're not my rulers, they're my employees. Every politician in the United States are we the people's employees. They work for us. We pay them. And I feel that I have a right to know everything about the employee that I have, that I'm paying for and that you're paying for. And this business, even Barack Obama saying, well, children are off limits and we shouldn't talk about it. No, I want to know everything about Sarah Palin. I'm sorry. She's going to give quite a speech tonight, prepared by someone else, probably, a speechwriter. They've analyzed very carefully what the Democrats said. They're analyzing very carefully what she should say. But I have some questions that I would like to ask Sarah Palin. Do you believe in birth control? You have 5 children. You have 1 child with Down syndrome, a tragedy. But there are other people that have children with Down syndrome and have raised them, and they provide workshops for Down, depending upon the severity of the Down syndrome. But since she has 5 children, and she's 44 years of age? Do you believe in birth control? And if you don't, what happens if you become pregnant during your tenure as vice president, and maybe with the unfortunate death of John McCain? Can you be a mother of 5 children, 1 child having Down syndrome, and pregnant? Now, will your husband take a vow of celibacy for the next 4 years if you're elected? Or will you practice birth control, which may be against your religious belief? I want to know the answer to these things. And if you don't, I want you to be my employer, because you won't ask the questions that will be paramount to how I feel when I hire someone. I want to know everything about every political candidate who gets elected to office, because I have to pay them. Now, maybe the vice president-elect, Sarah Palin, if she becomes vice president, will take advantage of family leave instituted by the Democrats, not the Republicans. I'm sure she'll take advantage of it. So I'd like to speak to her husband, even have sex with your wife during the time that she's the vice president. And if so, will you use birth control? Nobody asks those questions. The only person, and there's only one commentator on television, on radio, not on television any longer, who is the second most listened to syndicated broadcaster on cable television, or cable radio rather. I won't mention his name because let him get his own public relations. And when he made the statement that I just made, I said, thank God there is someone that has the courage to ask questions about Sarah Palin, the designated vice president of the Republican Party. If you read today's Philadelphia Inquirer's editorial, I don't know what the editorial board of the Philadelphia Inquirer, who they're going to support, who they're not going to support. But I'm sure that the Philadelphia Inquirer, as a result of the editorial in Wednesday's paper, is going to be criticized and say, well, there's no question that the Philadelphia Inquirer supports the Democrats and Barack Obama and Joe Biden. The Philadelphia Inquirer reported facts in its editorial. It was not supposition. It wasn't an assumption. It is the facts of this candidate who is running. Oh, she's pretty. Oh, she's a... No. She's going to be the Vice President of the United States. As far as earmarks, she's a phony. As far as the, quote, Alaska bridge to nowhere, she's a phony. As far as her being against the oil companies, she's a phony. Alaska is an oil state. They receive a tremendous amount of revenue from the oil companies. She wanted more transparency with the oil companies because the oil companies were paying her as the governor of Alaska a lot of money. She never denied the oil companies anything that they wanted. Read the Philadelphia Inquirer. You can get it up on your computer. You can get a copy of the Philadelphia Inquirer. But it is an interesting and revealing revelation of Sarah Palin. So the question is, what is off limits? Is the truth off limits on this woman? These are questions I would like to know. I'm sure Hillary Clinton, running as a presidential candidate, had no intention of having any more babies. But we have a woman who is fertile in the White House, if she wins. And instead of this tap dancing by these pundits on television, on radio, it's disgusting to me. I want to know everything about her. I want to know everything about John McCain. I want to know his medical history. I want to have a psychological test for John McCain. John McCain spent 6 years in a prisoner of war camp. And you can't tell me that anyone is psychologically capable during that period of time or after they're released that it hasn't affected them some way or other. No, I'm not anti-veteran. No, I'm not anti-people who've been in combat. I'm dealing with facts, ladies and gentlemen, not suppositions or opinion. And I want to know, we have a right to know, who is going to lead the most powerful nation in the world for the next 4 years. And as Tevye says in Fiddler on the Roof, I know the disease. I want to know the cure. So I don't want to hear from both parties what the problem is. We know what the problem is. How are you going to solve it? And the promises that politicians make to you may not be within their power to make a change. The issue of abortion. The president does not have the power to change Roe v. Wade one bit. He can appoint Supreme Court judges who may review the situation, but many liberal judges who has been appointed by conservative or conservative judges that have been appointed by conservative presidents have turned out to be liberals, and vice versa. So there is no guarantee when a judge is appointed to the United States Supreme Court whether they're going to remain conservative or whether they're going to become liberal. The Republican Party, in my opinion, is getting away with bloody murder. Bloody murder with the selection of Sarah Palin. And once again, this is nothing personal, but it's facts. I've said many times in my broadcast career and now on broadcasting from IrvHomer.com that I've lived too long through the evolution of the American political system. For those of you who remember, there was a bill that was trying to get passed by, and it was known as the Equal Rights Amendment. And what the Equal Rights Amendment was legislation that would force women to get equal pay for equal work. Does that sound bad, ladies? Don't sound bad, does it? That makes sense to me. I worked with many women in broadcasting that made big salaries. I worked for one program director, a female program director. She was a good program director, even though she was a little nuts. But she reached the goal of being a program director, and I worked for her. She was one of the program directors at WWDB. But when the Equal Rights Amendment came on the screen, on the political radar screen, oh my God, every woman on the Republican conservative side was and the Equal Rights Amendment never passed. Today there is no law that says a woman must make what a man makes for the same job. A bill that was introduced by the liberals. And I remember interviewing, for those of you who may remember the name, Phyllis Schlafly. Remember that name, gang? Young people probably don't even know what the hell I'm talking about. So young people are right off the political screen altogether. Young people would vote for Pete Diddy Combs to be president of the United States, or Bruce Springsteen or something. I hate to tell you, but you're really letting your ass all on the ground when it comes to the history of this country. And some of you old people forgot, or never learned in the first place. Well, Phyllis Schlafly was leading a crusade against the Equal Rights Amendment. Well, why don't somebody dig up Phyllis Schlafly's bones now and ask her how she feels about a conservative political party, named the Republican Party, supporting a woman as Vice President of the United States? Had it not been for the liberals who forced companies, state legislatures, across the board to demand that women break through this glass ceiling, Sarah Palin would never be the vice presidential candidate. Because the people in their own Republican conservative party were opposed to the Equal Rights Amendment. And her name is Phyllis Schlafly. Look it up on your computer if you want to. There was another singer by the name of Anita Bryant. She was the spokesperson for the Florida orange juice industry. And then she jumped on the anti-Equal Rights Amendment bandwagon, and also jumped on the anti-gay bandwagon, to a point where she became so vocal that the Florida citrus industry fired her because it was affecting their business. So while the Republicans are while you're praising yourself about having a female candidate as vice president, it was your party that prevented the Hillary Clintons, prevented the Kelly Bay Hutchins, prevented all of the women from reaching the point that Sarah Palin is today. Now, why the stupid Democrats, and you are stupid, why you don't, in your political literature and your advocacy to be the leaders of this country, don't shove it up the Republican nose, I don't know. Well, maybe I do know. Maybe it's because there isn't a damn's worth of difference between the two parties. Maybe that's the reason. And O'Reilly and all the right-wing blogospheres, blogospheres, whatever the hell they are, you can't get through on their telephone lines and bring this information to them. They may not even know who Phyllis Schlafly was, or who Anita Bryant was, or what the Equal Rights Amendment was all about. But if the Democrats did any research as to the history, they would destroy the Republican Party in 2 minutes. They would destroy this conservatism that is sweeping the country in 2 minutes. So I can only say that the conservative Republicans are hypocrites and the Democrat liberals are stupid. The names that I give you, check out for yourself. Check out the Equal Rights Amendment. Check out whether or not this lady who will be the vice president of the United States has any intention of having any more babies while she's in the White House or the Blair House or wherever she's going to live. And is she going to move her whole family to Washington, D.C. from Alaska and put them in the public schools? And will her husband be celibate? And does she believe in birth control? Oh no, neither the Republicans or the Democrats want to talk about it. Obama made it very clear that it's not fair game, children are not fair game. I'm not talking about her children. I wish her children all well. Talk about her. I don't think in the history of the world I've ever seen a pregnant woman world leader. Golda Meir of Israel wasn't pregnant. Margaret Thatcher wasn't pregnant. And Indira Gandhi never got pregnant. We got a woman who could potentially become pregnant in the White House if she wins. And I think we the people have a right to know. At least I want to know. So we will hear tonight from Dick Morris. I guess how did he go through school with a name like that? Is Morris Dick in the room? Yes, here I am. Used to be known as Petzler. Who knows everything about everything. And why? See, I can't. My frustration level, ladies and gentlemen, at this point in my life is so high I can't stand it. This guy, Dick Morris, is the guy that sold you Bill Clinton during his 2 political campaigns. He's the same liar that sold you Bill Clinton with Jennifer Flowers, with Paula Jones, with all of the coterie of Bill Clinton's sexual escapades. And now he's selling you this other line of garbage on the right. This man can sell anything to anybody because the American voter is so damn dumb. They never do any homework. I suggested many years ago that the person who develops the fuzzball vacuum cleaner that gets into people's brains could make a fortune. I know they've got a vacuum cleaner that picks up an 8-pound bowling ball and only weighs 8 pounds. But how about getting a vacuum cleaner to remove the fuzzballs from the American people's heads? Because God knows there are very few of us, like me, who have removed the fuzzballs from my head. That the Morris, the Dicks are not going to con me. The O'Reillys are not going to con me. The Limbaughs are not going to con me. But you're being conned, and you love it. And they keep bringing this guy Morris the Dick out. Did anybody ever check who this guy is? And how he sold you Bill Clinton? You moralists on the Republican side, who Dick Morris is the little kiss my behind Sean Hannity every time Sean breathes. There's Newt Gingrich, the guy that abandoned his wife with cancer, being the political pundit on the Hannity at Home show. And Dick Morris, the prostitute toe-sucking advisor to Bill Clinton. These are the people that are now telling you, dummy that you are, the political extrapolation of what's happening. So it is mind-boggling. We do have a chat room, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to ask any questions. My name is Irv Homer, and we're broadcasting from irvhomer.com. My website is www.irvhomer.com. My email address is evilirv@irvhomer.com. So those are the questions I would like to know, or like to ask, the vice presidential candidate who will be giving a marvelous, I guarantee you that speech tonight is going to be so good, it'll blow your mind. Blow your mind. A couple of other things, and we'll wait for some calls to come in on the chat room. We love to build monuments in America, don't we? Man, we build monuments. We build Vietnam veteran monuments. We build World War II monuments. We build Civil War monuments. We have statues in the park. We have We have the USS Battleship New Jersey. And we build monuments and we get involved in building monuments, and just like the Greek and Roman empires. If you've ever traveled to Greece or Italy, Asia, you'll see great statues and great monuments in total disarray, hanging down. The thing that got me this week was the fact that the USS New Jersey, the battleship that we fought so hard, not me, I said sink the damn thing. Sure, men died on it, sure it was in World War II, but who cares? What do you need it for? Taking money that can go into education, go into discovering a cure for cancer. Jerry Lewis won't have to have a muscular dystrophy therapy. No, they got an old battleship sitting there for what? We love to hang on to old hunks of iron. Well, guess what? Ain't no money to keep it going. We build these things without a funding base or a maintenance base in perpetuity that these things are supposed to last. And then they send all of these heart-rendering solicitations to save the USS New Jersey. I am going to speak for myself, not the Sunshine Foundation. We have almost 300 children on a waiting list right now to have a dream fulfilled for them. I wouldn't give 2 cents to the Battleship New Jersey's survival in Camden when I've got 300 children waiting before they die to have a dream or wish fulfilled. Now, what makes more sense? Contributing money to an organization that gives children a smile, a laugh, a little fun before they die, or save a rusty bucket of bolts. It served the country, it served it well. The men that died on the USS New Jersey were buried at sea with full dignity and respect. Well, let's take the USS New Jersey out to sea and bury it the same way as the men died. Let the New Jersey rest. It served its purpose. A valiant ship. Brave men died on it to save our freedom. And now let it sink to the bottom of the sea with the men who served on it. That, in my opinion, would be a better tribute than raising money to save a bucket of bolts or any of these other monuments that we build. Let's take the millions of dollars for the World War II memorial in Washington. What was it, $300 million? I visited a veteran's home about 2 months ago. The most depressing visit in my life. The most depressing visit in my life. But we will visit the USS New Jersey. Look at them big guns. And look at that beautiful mess hall. My values, ladies and gentlemen, go to human values, not material values. That ship has served this country, and it served the men, and the men served that ship, and it deserves to have a decent burial. I'm Irv Homer, and we're broadcasting from the IrvHomer.com website, www.irvhomer.com. Email is evilerv@irvhomer.com. And it is brought to you through the technological services of RGH Computer Services for all your computer needs. So we will have tonight, I guess in about maybe 3 hours, 3.5 hours, a speech that probably will be so brilliant that I have developed since 1972 that no speechwriter would be permitted to write speeches for any political candidate. If the candidate can't speak from their heart, from their mind, they shouldn't be in office. It will be scripted, the color will be scripted to make sure that the color background is right, that her dress looks right, her hair is right, her glasses look good. Don't take a shot of the profile, take a shot of the front. On chorus, we'll all raise hands, we'll all hold up signs. What kind of production is this? And Boobus America buying this Democrat and Republican convention? And this is what America's turned into? 2 grand productions? What is the purpose of the convention? To network? To party? Heard Governor Ridge, oh, it's a pleasure to be here at the Republican event. I saw a lot of old friends. What? Tom, if you want to see your friends, get in the car and drive and see your friends. It's not to spend $35 million to see your friends. Give him a call on the phone, cell phone. You can call your phone. $33 million. He went to see his friends. Wonderful. What's that mean to me? Or my viewers? We'll take some questions on the chat room. And the first question is, Irv, were black men able to vote before women? The answer is yes. Yes. When the Anti-Slave Act was passed, blacks were not permitted to vote because A, they were only 2/3 of a human being. The good old days of our founding fathers. And so they changed that, but women were still discriminated against. It wasn't until the Women's Suffrage Act that women were given the right to vote. And it was not the liberals who didn't want women to vote. So yes, black men were permitted to vote before women. Bill from Lenai, Pennsylvania. Where's Lenai? What do you think of free choice bill? What's a free choice bill? What is the free choice bill? Are you referring to the abortion bill? The right to choose?
Yeah.
What do I think of it? I think it's fine. I think it's not the government's business if a woman wants to have an abortion. That's between her and her God. The government should be totally neutral. Totally and completely neutral. It should be between that person and the religion, that person, that woman and her family, that person and her physician. Physicians should have the right not to perform abortions if they so desire, if it's against their religion.
Wrong bill.
Well, I don't know what this free choice bill is.
I'll give you a rundown quick. It was voted in favor of legislation that would strengthen workers' ability to bargain for better wages, benefits, and working conditions by safeguarding their rights when they choose to form unions.
People should have the right to join union or not to join unions. However, a person who chooses not to join a union should not be given the benefits that the union works for to get. So if the person who doesn't want to join a union doesn't want to join the union, fine. Let them negotiate their own working agreements with the employer, but not receive the benefits that the union struggles for to get. Yes, I'm in favor of an open workforce. But you can't expect the union to fight to protect the working man so that people who are reluctant to pay dues or receive the benefits will get the peripheral benefits from it without paying for it. So if you want to work as a non-union member in a field, fine. You negotiate with your employer. And that's your terms of agreement. But you should not receive any benefit that the unions provide as a result of negotiations. The problem I see with unions as it is today, and as it was years ago, it's a little better now, is there's always a contentious agreement between unions and employers. Now in police departments and some fire departments, they have binding arbitration in which a person sits down and they arbitrate. Whatever that arbitrator agrees upon, both sides must accept. But if we're to have a fair working laws in America, if we're to have a cohesive workforce between the employer and the employee, we've got to get rid of this contentious him versus us, the union, the employer versus the employee. Employers are entitled to make money, no question. But people who work for the employers are entitled to be compensated so that that person or that corporation can make the money they make. Because without the employee, the corporation won't make any money, the employer won't make any money. But if the employee demands more than the profit of the corporation can afford to pay, they both lose. So we've got to get rid of this contentious business of the employee versus the employer, both sides, and there is such a thing as win-win. Both sides can win. But it must be done with honesty and sincerity, both on the employer's side and on the employee's side. And I remember once I received my check from one of my employers at the radio station, and he said, "You didn't say thank you." I said, "What for?" "Well, I just gave you your paycheck." "Why should I thank you for it?" I said, "Did you make any money on me?" "Yeah." "Did you make more money than you paid me, called profit?" He said, "Yeah." "So you should thank me." With respect, of course, and with dignity. I never thanked an employer because he paid me for what I worked for. There's a mutuality there that should be established between the employee and the employer. And after that, this guy owned about 5 radio stations throughout the country. He had more respect for me than he had for some of the hot shots on the radio station. But one of the things that was funny was I accidentally said thank you when he gave me my paycheck one day. And he says, "I caught you, didn't I?" I said, "Okay, you got me." It's a means of gratitude. It's a means of exchange. It's a means of appreciation. It's a matter of common courtesy, I suppose. What was Biden's son indicted for? I have no idea. I didn't know his sons were indicted. No, maybe Ron, you look it up and find out what Biden's sons were indicted for. The 2 sons that are living today, I don't know. It's not something that's on my radar list as far as Biden is concerned. Let's go to Bob from Memphis. According to Alaskan newspapers, Sarah Palin left her town as mayor with $20 million in debt, and they have 25 to 40 meth labs, and the police are re-raiding locals for Texas Hold'em. So why are they still picking this person? Well, I suggest, Bob, that you get a copy, go online since you're computer savvy, and get a copy of the Philadelphia Inquirer today, Wednesday, September the 3rd. You'll find out about Sarah Palin when she was the mayor and the earmarks that she took. The big complaint was against the former Congressman Stevens of Alaska on this bridge to nowhere. Well, Sarah Palin, who was the governor, received the money, but she never sent the money back to Washington. She took the money from the earmark that she complained about and spent it throughout Alaska. So the only thing Sarah Palin was angry with Not with earmarks to John McCain, who was the presidential candidate of the Republican side, but she did like the earmark for this bridge to nowhere. But she never sent the money back. She spent it throughout the state of Alaska that gave her this 80% popularity. Number 5 on our chat room, should non-union members pay dues for union benefits? Yes, of course. It's a quid pro quo. The union has expenses, it provides medical service, it provides legal representation, it provides a lot of things for the employees. And so if you're a non-union member and you want the benefits, the union at its own board meetings or discretion could say, yes, you don't have to be a member and pay dues, but if you want our medical coverage and you want the thing, yes, you will pay us for it. At that point, you may as well pay the dues. But the question is, does the government have the right to step in and say you must belong to a union or you must not belong to a union? People have a right to determine their own destiny when it comes to work. And it should be a free exchange of cooperation in which union members, non-union members, and employers have a mutual agreement that benefits them all. But the biggest problem with labor is the United States government. See, people are under the impression that the government is anti-union, although they solicit union support when they run for office. Think about this. When the union gets a raise for its employees, who is the secret negotiator at every contractual agreement between employees and the company? The secret benefactor is United States government. Because the more money that you make as an employee, the more money in taxes you pay to the government. So the government loves you to go on strike and you to get more money. And the government has stolen everything that the unions got for the working man. 40-hour work week, all of the programs that unions have set up in this country over the years, the government has stolen from them. The same as the government stole things from organized crime. When organized crime had territories, Chicago East Side, the government came up with a thing called franchise. We franchise this, now the government is involved in one of the greatest things that the mob worked on, and that was gambling. So the unions have to invent a new benefit for both industry and working people. And maybe someone will be smart enough as president to work that out. Answer to Biden's son and brother. A son and a brother of Senator Joseph Biden are accused in 2 lawsuits of defrauding a former business partner and an investor of millions of dollars in a hedge fund deal that went sour. Court records show that the lawsuits are pending, or the lawsuits have been resolved, or were they found guilty?
No, they were just 2 lawsuits are pending.
2 lawsuits mean nothing. Now they may be guilty, I don't know. But the point is, with hedge funds and with investments, people that deal in that kind of money know how far off the law they can push. And people that get hurt financially in many areas tend to sue. So until such time as it can be proven that the case, in fact, the son and the brother of Joe Biden were guilty, this is a lawsuit that's pending, and I have no comment on it. The same as the lawsuit that's pending in Alaska, where I believe Sarah Palin fired the commissioner, had the commissioner fired because her sister's husband was dismissed as a state trooper. That lawsuit is still pending, and it's under investigation at the present time. So I won't mention that until it can be proven that she was in fact guilty of committing that type of pressure upon the state police commissioner in Alaska. Our telephone, we don't have a telephone number.
Not yet.
We have a chat room. We don't have a telephone yet. I'm Irv Homer. Once again, we're broadcasting from IrvHomer.com. My website is www.irvhomer.com. Email is evilerv@irvhomer.com. And we have a lot of emails that we have to get to. We have some guests booked in the future, which you'll find extremely interesting. And we're program is growing by leaps and bounds. I want to tell you that. Let me review my bidding. Once again, if you can get a copy of the Philadelphia Inquirer today, get the editorial page and read the editorial. And think about this very carefully on my position. I want to know everything there is to know about every politician that I'm paying or that you're paying, whether it be the local dog catcher, the local zoning board, the local township commissioner. I want to know everything about them. Everything that I as an employer am entitled to know about an employee who I'm spending money for. And just remember tonight, as I said during the Democrat convention, these are people that you're going to hire. You're not voting for them. What you're doing is hiring them. Number 6 on our chat room question is John McCain qualified to be the president? The answer is yes. Is Barack Obama qualified to be the president? Yes. Is Hillary Clinton qualified to be the president? Yes. Is a person who was under psychiatric evaluation qualified to be the president? The answer is yes. There's a little thing that's published, and you can pick it up at any time at all that you want, and it's called the Constitution of the United States. I suggest you read it. It's the Constitution of the United States. What qualifies a person to be the President of the United States is they must be 35 years of age and be born in the USA. Those are the qualifications. No other qualifications required by the United States Constitution. So if the question is John McCain qualified? The answer is yes. Is Sarah Palin qualified? Yes. Joe Biden qualified? Yes. Probably the whole House of Congress, the 535 members of the Congress and Senate are all qualified. By constitutional edict, they are qualified to be the president. Now, are they capable? That's a different story. Would you trust them? That's another story. Would you be willing to live under their jurisdiction as the political leaders of the country? That's another story. But for some reason or other, in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights of the United States, there is no qualification other than those two stipulations. But there are other things in there that we totally disregard, where no religious belief or religious affiliation or non-religious affiliation should be part of the election process. Tough, isn't it? And yet we have presidents prancing out of church with their Bible, talking to their minister, Joe Lieberman talking to his rabbi, John McCain coming to Philadelphia this week or last week, meeting with the Cardinal of Philadelphia in private consultation. Which by definition of the Constitution of the United States is illegal. But folks will accept it because it is your religion and it is your religious leader. You don't give a damn about the Constitution. As long as it meets your particular bias and your particular prejudice, you are willing to have these political whores campaign from churches, campaign in synagogues, and have your religious leaders support particular candidates. It is in the Constitution that it can't be done or shouldn't be done by Supreme Court decisions over the years. But you don't like that because that goes against your grain. A Mormon shouldn't be president of the United States. Why not? A Catholic shouldn't be the president of the United States. John F. Kennedy was Catholic. A Jew will never be president of the United States. And God forbid a Muslim. Why not? Is it illegal? No. Is it unconstitutional? No. But I heard this idiot, Laura, I've never had an orgasm, Ingram on the air. Do you know that Barack Obama's got a brother who's a Muslim? So what? So what, you bleach blonde freakazoid? The lack of knowledge that is in this country about our Constitution and what made this country great is frustrating and frightening to me. I have to applaud some of you folks here for doing some research on the candidates that are running for office in this election. I say one thing again, that the party that's going to win this election is going to be the row house candidate. And what do I mean by the row house candidate? When I lived in Philadelphia 24 years ago, in my neighborhood was row houses. And my committeemen could go from one house to the next house, the next house, the next house. But the Democrat and Republican committeemen just went right house to house to house to house to house to house to house and got the vote out. However, I live in Bucks County in a single home, and for the local committeeman to cover the amount of voters that my one committeeman in Philadelphia covered, he would need a horse like Paul Revere to get the amount of people out to vote. The candidate of the political party that puts that street money out, and I've seen it, $2 to vote, free drink when the bar is open afterward, open lunch at bars, open lunch at clubs. That's the party that's going to win the election. I can tell you this, the Democrats, with Obama's people, are the street house, the row house candidate. He's the row house candidate. And if the Democrats can pull the row house voter out to those polls, the Democrats will win. Very few big cities have a Republican majority to get the vote out. So the Republicans have one heck of a job on their hands. Don't forget, tonight we'll all be watching Sarah Palin. It'll be a great speech, I can assure you that. I'm Irv Homer, broadcasting from irvhomer.com. Website is www.irvhomer.com. My email, and you can email me at evilirv@irvhomer.com. And I got nothing more to say.